Here for Henry. Henry the Green Engine is one of the most reliable engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway, but it wasn't always that way. When he first came to Sodor, Henry had a different shape and a small firebox. This meant that regular coal made it hard for him to build up steam properly.
Oh, my boiler's grumbling.
Maybe it's grumbling because you're too slow, Henry.
So, Sir Topham Hatt gave him special coal, and for a while, he felt much better. But after a terrible accident, Henry was sent to Crewe, a large engine works far away. There, they gave him a whole new shape and a much larger firebox. Now, Henry runs smoothly on the rails, hauling trucks and passengers as easy as pie. Two of his favorite jobs are carrying logs from the forest and pulling the flying kipper. But both jobs can be very tiring and worrisome, especially for an engine who worries as much as Henry. Early one morning, Henry puffed into the washdown looking very tired. Gordon and James were there getting cleaned.
Yuck! Another night with the kipper, Henry?
I'm glad it's not me working with the smelly fish, but I still can't stand the stank.
After a while, you don't even notice the smell.
Who wouldn't notice that smell? Stinky fish on a stinky steamy. Black. Makes my oil curdle just thinking about it.
I don't know. I kinda like the smell of fish.
What do you want, Diesel?
Oh, I just came by to see Henry.
Really? I thought we were going back to the diesel works.
Stow it, Paxton. I just wanted to sing a new song I learned to him. Once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain. Tee-hee-hee.
I don't get it.
Oh, sorry, Diesel, but after hearing that song so many times, it doesn't bother me anymore.
It's true, Diesel. Even Gordon and I are tired of the story.
Although, I never get tired of hearing about the Diesel who lost his temper trying to move the wrong trucks.
Which Diesel was that? Someone I know?
Diesel spluttered in fury. He hated being made fun of, especially by Steamies. Then, a devious smile crept across his face.
You know, Henry, I'm glad you got that new shape of yours all those years ago.
Oh, can't you go bother somebody else? Wait, you are?
Of course, a good thing it happened, or else Sir Topham Hatt would have scrapped you for good.
He would have?
That's not true. Sir Topham Hatt would never scrap me.
How do you know? From what I heard, you spent all your time whining and moaning about boiler ache.
Well, who hasn't complained about boiler ache?
There's nothing worse than a poor puffer that keeps breaking down.
Henry did not break down, Diesel. He had trouble building steam.
That's why Sir Topham Hatt gave him Welsh coal, to give him a chance.
Yes, but Welsh coal is expensive, isn't it? If Sir Topham Hatt didn't have all that money...
He would never scrap any of his engines.
But he would send away two Diesels who wasted time teasing Steamies instead of doing their work.
Oh dear, we gotta hurry, Diesel. Sorry to bother you three, but we gotta go.
Grr! All right, we're going. But remember what I said, Henry. If it wasn't for that new shape, you would have been another pile for the scrapyard.
Oh, such a rude engine.
I know. Why does Sir Topham Hatt keep letting him stay?
Poor Henry didn't say anything, but he looked miserable. He never told anyone, but he always worried about being scrapped in his old shape. And he did complain a lot back in the day. A little later, Henry puffed back to the sheds for a rest, but he was feeling uneasy.
Sir Topham Hatt would never scrap any of us, would he? No, don't be silly. Diesel's just trying to rattle my dome. I'm still plenty useful. I'm pretty sure I am. Maybe.
As he backed towards his berth, he wasn't so sure, but he was too tired to keep worrying. So Henry rolled right into the shed and fell asleep almost before his buffers touched the bar. However, the next time Henry opened his eyes, he wasn't in the shed anymore. He was at the scrapyards, stuck in the middle of a train. But that wasn't all.
Bust my boiler! My old shape!
What are you blabbering about, Stinky Steamy? You've always looked like that.
Yeah, but not for long.
Harry and Bert, what are you doing?
What do you think, Henry? Check your boiler.
Scrap? But that's only for engines that...
Then Henry looked ahead in horror. In the distance, and coming up fast, was the large smelting shed. And all the way in the back of the shed, smiling evilly. Well, Henry knew exactly who it was.
No, this isn't happening. I can't be scrapped. I feel fine, really. Oh, please, just give me a chance to...
Sorry, Henry, but Sir Topham Hatt says you're too expensive to keep. But don't worry, you'll make fairly decent scrap indeed.
Henry begged and pleaded, but it was no use. All he could do was helplessly follow on and wait for the end.
No, please, there's been a mistake. You can't do this. Oh, somebody, anybody, help me! No!
When Henry opened his eyes again, he wasn't in the scrapyards. He was safe and sound in his shed, and he was back in his new shape.
Oh, thank goodness. It was only a dream.
Afternoon, Henry.
Hello, sir. Oh, when did you get here?
Only just now, Henry. I want you to collect some flatbeds of logs from the forest and take them to the timber mill. And, are you feeling all right, Henry? You still look a little haggard.
Henry wanted to tell Sir Topham Hatt about his nightmare, but he didn't want to sound like he was whining again.
Oh, I'm fine, sir. Still a little tired from pulling the kipper. Well, it's nothing working in the forest can't fix.
Very well. That's a good engine.
Henry couldn't help but smile. He loved going to the forest, but Diesel's teasing and the horrible nightmare kept on playing in his smoke box.
Oh, keep it together, Henry. Gordon and James are right. Although, there are a lot of engines I haven't seen in a while. Hank, Flora, Molly, Boko. Could he have... No, that's just silly. Right?
Meanwhile, at the far end of the forest, Harvey had just finished loading logs onto the flatbeds that James had brought.
Finally! I don't know why Henry likes working in the forest. It's too quiet. Ah, there you are, Henry. Feeling better?
A little. Just answer me one question, James. Why haven't we seen engines like Hank, Flora, or Molly around lately?
Don't you remember? Hank went back to America because he missed being on the bigger railways. Flora's always busy on the Great Waterton tramways. And Molly's working hard at the coaling plant. I just spoke with her yesterday.
Oh, I knew that. I did all along. Wait, whatever happened to Boko? I haven't seen him in a while.
Hello, James and Henry. Can't stop to talk today. Lots of work to do.
Any other questions, Henry?
I'll let you know if I think of any.
Henry was feeling a little better, but he was still thinking about his terrible nightmare. He didn't even notice the points ahead were set in the wrong direction, until it was too late.
Oh, I must not think about my dream. I'll try to think about trucks instead. Let me see. Hopper trucks, mail trucks, flatbeds, scrap trucks. Scrap trucks!
When Henry snapped out of his daydream, he found himself in the middle of the scrapyard, surrounded by trucks filled with rusted iron and steel. Henry glanced from side to side in fright. His nightmare danced in his smoke box, and he was too spooked to even chuck.
Hello? Hi, whoa, easy there, big guy. It's only me.
It was Hurricane, the steelworks tank engine. He was on loan from the mainland to help Ari and Bert.
Sorry, Hurricane. I thought I was going to be scrapped.
Really? Well, you don't look broken. Still got steam flowing. Sorry, no such luck, Henry. You look too useful for scrapping today.
I guess I must have gone down the wrong line. I was a little distracted.
Distracted? By what?
Well,
But before Henry could say anything, they were both rudely interrupted by two familiar horns.
Oh, hold that thought, Henry. I've got to deal with these two again. Hey there, my two favorite diesels. What can I do for you now?
Just hurry up with those trucks, Steamy. We haven't all day.
Sure thing, bosses.
The minute Henry saw Ari and Bert, his nightmare came back to him at full force.
You'll make fair, decent scrap indeed.
what are you looking at, Henry?
Henry was too frightened to say anything, and instead reversed as fast as he could towards the junction.
What's his problem?
I don't know. Maybe he was just intimidated by how much better we are.
Why couldn't Frankie work with these two? At least she'd keep them quiet.
The flatbeds rattled and shook as Henry raced backwards as fast as he could. He didn't stop until he finally reached the junction back up the line.
Finally. Got away from those two.
Henry? I saw you coming. Is something the matter?
Nothing, Gordon. Just took the wrong track is all.
But as Gordon thundered by with the express, he wasn't so convinced. As Henry waited for the points to change, he felt more miserable than ever. He wanted nothing more than to talk to his friends about his troubles, but he didn't want to be a bother anymore. At last, the points were set in the right direction, and Henry was on his way again. But his heart wasn't in it. Despite all the delays, he arrived right on time to the timber mill, but he didn't seem to care. He dropped off the logs and then trundled slowly and somberly all the way home. But as Henry made his way home, a nasty surprise was waiting for him. Gordon and James sat calmly on the points outside the shed, blocking the way.
Gordon? James? What are you doing? Let me through!
Not so fast, Henry. First, we want to know what's gotten into you lately.
What do you mean?
You've been acting strange all day. Asking me weird questions.
Racing backwards at the junction?
And Hurricane said you thought he was going to scrap you.
That was, well, see, what I was doing was,
Is this about what Diesel said this morning?
No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous.
Henry, if something's wrong, you know you can talk to us, right?
Oh, well, it's not that easy, you know! How do I talk about my problems without sounding like I'm grumbling? I've done too much of that when I was in my old shape.
Oh, right, that. Okay, I'll admit that Gordon and I were a little impatient about your condition.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't say what's on your mind. And trust me, there are engines that complain way more than you ever could. Just look at James.
Yeah, just look at... Hey!
What's all this?
The three big engines knew that voice, and sure enough, there watching them was Sir Topham Hatt.
Oh, sir, is something wrong?
I could ask you the same thing, Henry. You've caused a lot of confusion earlier, and I wanted to make sure everything was okay, but I can tell something's not right. So what's troubling you, Henry?
Henry knew he couldn't keep quiet forever. He looked at Sir Topham Hatt, Gordon, and James. Each of them wore a kind, caring face that told Henry he could tell them anything. Henry's heart felt full again.
Oh.
So Henry took a deep puff and told them everything. He told Sir Topham Hatt about Diesel's teasing, and then told all three of them about his horrible nightmare, and how afraid he was to tell anyone about his worries all day. Once he finished, Gordon and James were horrified.
Well, that explains why you look so scared. Ooh, that story makes my wheels wobble.
It makes my coupling rod shake.
Sir Topham Hatt spoke kindly to Henry.
Well, that certainly explains a lot. But don't you feel better letting it all out, Henry?
I do feel a little better, but I really didn't want to bother anyone.
Henry, you should always feel like you can talk to me or your fellow engines about your problems.
I know, sir. I know.
And you know better than Diesel that I always give my engines a fair chance before sending them away, and would never dream of scrapping them.
Yes, sir. I do know it now, but I couldn't help but worry for a bit.
I know, Henry, and I'm proud of you for coming clean about your troubles. I think you've earned a rest, and James can take the flying kipper for you tonight.
Wait, what? Me? Pull the flying kipper? But sir! I mean, of course, sir. I'll be happy to help my friend. But I get a wash down first tomorrow.
So, that night, James pulled the flying kipper for Henry. He didn't like it one bit, but he carried on, knowing that he was being a good friend.
Do it for Henry. Do it for Henry.
And Henry had a peaceful night's sleep without a single nightmare. He knows now that he'll never have to worry about being scrapped. And he also knows that he can rely on his friends, like Gordon and James, to help him through anything, even his own worries.